And good morning, President Mather and members of the board. It's been a really busy month since we last met, so I plan on giving you some highlights of activities. It's also been a big month for healthcare, as President Mather had indicated in her report. So I am going to start off with talking a little bit about health rates. Yesterday, the Pension and Health Benefits Committee was presented with the health premiums for 2019 that was negotiated on behalf of our 1.4 million members, as well as for our employers. As the committee saw, we have had another challenging year in negotiations, and the team has worked diligently, I believe, to get the best rates possible with working with our health plans. And something I think that the team should feel really good about, again, that these rates came in at the level that they came in. I think it's important to note that as healthcare rates are rising around the United States and for many across, again, the country, our members will see an overall increase of less than 1%. In fact, only 3 of the plans will see an increase. Most members who are part of the health program here will see a slight decrease or no decrease or no increase at all. These final premium rates represent the combined efforts of several of the teams in health, in our actuarial services department, and our legal offices, who've worked really hard to improve upon the preliminary rates that were presented to you last month. I'm really proud of the work that they've done, and I know that you share in that as well. With your approval later this morning of the 2019 premiums, we'll begin preparing our members for open enrollment. Open enrollment runs from September 10th through October 5th. And as Leanna Bailey-Crimmins indicated yesterday, something that the team is quite proud of is that we'll have an open enrollment app available to our members this year. And then, of course, because this has become a year-round process for the team, we'll start the next round of healthcare negotiations for 2020, again, because this is certainly a year-round effort. Included in the healthcare changes for next year is the pharmaceutical reference pricing proposals that you heard about in Pension and Health Benefits yesterday. The proposal to pilot this plan builds on our role as a healthcare leader in reference pricing. And again, the primary goal here is to increase transparency around medication costs to help make members more aware of the cost of the medications that they're taking and to give them a more active role in choosing the appropriate medication suited to their own budgets. Turning now briefly to investments, and I will close my report with investment performance. But in Monday's investment committee, we discussed the private equity models that are now under consideration by this board. After nearly a year of looking at the models, we have landed on what we're calling the 4 pillars. They include, in Pillar 1, an increased allocation to our emerging manager program. Pillar 2, which would be to possibly work with a strategic partner for co-investments. And then Pillars 3 and 4, which we're calling CalPERS direct models to support longer-term investment needs. You've asked several questions, and those questions have since been put into a checklist. So as we are bringing back information to this board and addressing those questions, you can check those off of the list that we provided to you. And we will also refine this proposal as additional information comes in with a go, no-go decision expected for later this fall. As we continue to discuss the plan, I think it's also important that everyone in the auditorium, as well as all of our members and our employers, again, understand why we're considering these models. And the number one reason, of course, is the combination of the numbers where we pay very close attention. That is the assumed rate of return being reduced to 7, as well as the current funded status of the plans, which is around 71%. What we hear from our members, I say this frequently, out interacting with members, their number one concern is the safety of their benefit. When they see the funded status at less than 80, 90%, it does cause them some concern about the viability of their benefit when they need it. We also want to make sure that we're building an investment portfolio that drives the best possible returns over the long term. Moving on, next month, we will also announce the fiscal year and investment returns for 2017 and 18. As you know, our annual rate of return has a significant impact on employer contributions and our overall funded status. The higher the return, the more pressure it takes off of our employers' budgets. To date, we continue to be above our 7% return target, but we'll just have to wait and see over the next couple of weeks what the markets will bring. And again, I'll end my report with actual investment performance. Over the last 2 years, we've been working hard to improve the funded status and get the fund on a solid path to long-term sustainability. As we strengthen the fund for the long-term benefit of our members who are serving California, we're also mindful of the role our investments play in helping California to succeed. Those investment strategies are detailed in both the CalPERS for California report and the CalPERS California Initiative 2017. You saw those reports again on Monday in the Investment Committee. As of June 30th of 2017, we have invested more than $30 billion in California-based companies and projects, which is a 10% increase over last year. In addition to the revenue, CalPERS investments also provide ancillary support for residents in many communities around the state. For example, investments in private equity and infrastructure and real estate supported the creation of over 266,000 jobs. And as also shown in the California Initiative 2017 report, CalPERS private equity investments in traditional underserved markets since 2001 have helped provide support for more than 176,000 workers, generated high-quality jobs with employee benefits that surpass state and national levels, enhanced job opportunities for economically disadvantaged persons in low to moderate income communities, and created opportunities for women and minority managers, which again exceeds the national benchmark. And I've said this many times, this is a very complex organization with a lot of activity happening, but it's particularly gratifying to know that we have an important role to play in the success of this state. So another item that I've been spending quite a bit of time on in the last weeks are more outreach opportunities with our employers and our members. It's really important that not only I, but the rest of you are out talking about the significant decisions that have been made, as well as the accomplishments that we've had over this last year, and to share the story with the members and the stakeholders who have a very keen interest in us being successful. So the Solid Foundation for the Future report, we did create a PowerPoint template where the board can also use that as you're out talking with stakeholder groups, member groups, employer groups, the legislature, what have you. I've been out doing that as well. It's also a great opportunity, what I call doing a bit of myth busting about the facts of the system. And if we're not out telling the story, sometimes the facts get filled in a non-factual way. Again, a lot of people interested in that report. And since we last met, I've spoken with members of the California State Association of Counties, the California Special Districts Association, and I think their members expressed strong appreciation for the work that CalPERS has been doing to strengthen the fund. I also had some good discussions recently with the editorial boards for the Los Angeles Times and Comstock's magazine, a local business magazine here in Sacramento. We talked about many of the challenges that we face and the pressure of public agencies, and I hope to do more of that kind of media outreach in the near future. And for board members who would like to go along, just let me know if that would be something you would be interested in doing along with me. I also think it's important to talk directly with members. Again, that's the reason we're here, is to serve the members of the system about the work we're doing. So last week, I was able to attend the CB, the Benefit Education event in Riverside. And I spoke to a couple hundred of attendees. And what was great is that there were a number of questions that had come in. And I think what it showed really is that there is a lot of confusion about what's happening here. And so over the next year, I'll be spending much more of my time talking directly with members. Next week, I'll be participating on a panel for the California League of Cities. They're expecting about 300 elected officials to be in attendance at their executive forum, and I look forward to helping them understand what we're doing to secure the retirement and health benefits for the employees of their cities. In addition to external outreach, there are a number of internal events coming up that are important to mention. The next week, the executive team is hosting a CalPERS Leadership Forum to share their stories of driving team engagement. And this is the second forum we've held this year with our managers and supervisors, and it's a follow-up to the employee engagement survey, where we received some feedback from the teams that they wanted more interaction, more of a relationship with the senior management team. And each of the executives have been working with their own programs to identify the one item that they want to work on to improve employee engagement results for their program. And so the executive team will be here with a number of our supervisors and managers sharing the one thing that they've worked on and their progress, whether that was a success or maybe it was something that they intended to be successful that ended up not being so, and they'll talk about that as well. The other item that we're working on internally to shore up our own team is a governance training that our executive team, and we've invited Ann Simpson to participate on that project as well. It's a project that will be led by Rick Funston, who specializes in risk intelligent organizations and governance practices. And the purpose of this training is to make sure we're working together as smoothly as possible in support of the board. The other item we want to do is review our own processes that are created to put agenda items before the various committees and the board and make sure that those are effective and that they are successful for all of you. So I've interviewed a couple of you already. I will continue those interviews to talk with you about the expectations you have regarding agenda items, level of detail, the content. Is it organized in the way that is of most value to you? You may know that we put together, or we prepare about 1,100 pages of material on a monthly basis. So is that 1,100 pages the appropriate level of detail for you? And should it be organized in a way that makes it simpler for you to get through? Because again, you're trying to get through this 1,100 pages in about a week. So next, I want to let you know that registration for our 19th annual educational forum has begun. This is our signature employer event, and so far we have nearly 300 employers registered to attend the forum in October at the Renaissance in Indian Wells. And this year, we're going to have a special set of sessions designed just for elected officials so they can, so they can discuss the key issues their cities, their counties, and districts are facing directly with CalPERS leaders. And more information about the educational forum is on our website. And the final item I want to mention is the success of a recent webinar our teams produced about the unfunded actuarial liability. There's a lot of confusion between what is the UAL as it relates to the normal cost of the plan and how do those factor into the employer contributions. So we had a record number of participants at 723 employers. That's quite large. And in addition, I understand that since the initial broadcast, the YouTube video of the webinar has been viewed over 200 times. So that's about a quarter of our public employers likely who are accessing this material. So that is a great turnout, and it says, again, a lot about how eager our employer partners are to explore funding solutions for the UAL. So I'd like to extend my thanks to our teams in the actuarial office and the stakeholder relations and public affairs for their work to produce such a successful webinar. So now on to investment performance year to date. As I mentioned, the total fiscal year to date performance is above 7. It's around 8.3. The rolling 1-year return of the fund is 10.2. The 3-year return is 6.4. The 5-year return is 7.7. The 10-year return is 5.1. And the 20-year return is 6.2. And that concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for a very substantive report. Any comments, questions from the board? Okay, we will move on.